So the next thing we are going to do is we're just going to put 2 rows of tacking stitches along this ruffle. Okay, so I'm going to drop it down so it's sitting there on that 3/8 of an inch. Okay, and then I'm going to turn my stitches to my biggest stitch which I've got, which is my tacking stitch, and then I'm going to move my needle over to this side of my foot, and I'm going to do a row of stitches. I'm just going to take my time, do a row of stitches along here. It'll go quite quickly because it does go quickly when you're tacking, but you want to keep it on that edge there. That's my machine telling me do not put a back stitch in, okay? With the tacking stitch you don't want to put a back stitch in at all. Don't put a back stitch in, just go straight across. My machine telling me to put a back stitch in. Something's happening. Should be okay now. Let's try it now. Yeah, it's working now. Trying to do this one much slower on the video so that you can see and get a much better idea, just because this is a much more basic outfit, much easier to make. And there you have it, okay? So I'm going to take that out and we're going to leave a nice long thread, alright? So we've got our long thread. Make sure you've got a nice long thread there. Pull that out the back, put it back underneath, put your foot right on that very edge there, and then we're going to just turn our needle and we're going to move it to the other side, okay? And then we're going to run the stitches exactly the same right the way along. Remember, don't put a back stitch in on either end because you want to be able to gather this, okay? Now, if you're doing it very fast, you might find it sort of slips around like this. So if you can keep it slower, then you might help, because you don't want to cross over this line and stitch over the top of it, because if you do, it won't gather very well. So there we are. Don't put a back stitch in. Lift it up and pull out those long threads. Okay. And then you can put that piece over to one side, just like that. Okay, so we're going to go back to the table now. I'm going to work on pinning the other pieces together. So this is our arm, it's all laying lovely, and we're going to place it in here. So what we're going to do next is we're going to stitch from here all the way down to here, okay, and we're going to do that on both sides. So I'm just going to pin this down. I'll get a better view of it on for you. Let's move that one out of the way. I'm going to pin this down like this on both sides. There, and there. And the same on this one. Okay. One. So what you would do first, obviously, is just go along and do your, where you've turned up your two pieces, you would just go along and stitch all the way across the bottom of both pieces. Okay, so you've got a nice hem on the bottom of your skirt, and you do that in exactly the same way as we've done that. You would take your card here, you would bring it on, you would fold it back 1/4 of an inch like that, iron across the top, and then bring it over again, fold it back another 1/4 of an inch just like that. So you've got that all folded, so it would be looking like this. You can pin it if you want to, but you don't need to. And then you would just come along and you would stitch right across that piece, and then you would stitch. So you'll have your folded hem here. You're just going to basically place it under, make sure that you're sitting, sorry, that's my hand, sitting right on the edge. When your needle is going to go in, it's going to go right on the edge of this seam here, and then just do a back stitch and then go all the way along and finish with the back stitch, and do that on both sides of your fabric. Okay, and then we're going to come in here, we're going to place once you've done both sides, I'm going to place our foot down. I'm going to make sure that it's sitting right on that very edge there, on the 3/8 of an inch. We're going to come in, just get rid of that thread, and then we're going to do a back stitch, and I'm going to go all the way down. Oh, just before I start, make sure that you are back onto your correct stitch, because I wasn't, so I'm going to go back and do that again. You probably don't need as many back stitches as that. Okay, then we're going to go all the way down. I forgot to turn my stitch back, but always try and remember, if you can, after you've done a gathering stitch or a zigzag stitch or whatever you might be doing, which is different from your normal stitch, you need to change it back, because otherwise you'll get on and you'll start stitching the wrong way, and then what happens is you'll find that those stitches won't hold. Once you start moving around or pulling it on or whatever, you will find that it'll just all those stitches will just pull out, and that's why they're like that. I'm just going to go like that, and I'm not going to end my stitches right at the end. I've ended back here, so that when I cut them off here, nice and close, so I don't get both ends in, you won't get an end coming down underneath your fabric there. Okay, and then we're just going to come back up here whilst we're on this side, and we're just going to zigzag all the way down. All right, so I'm going to come in a bit underneath there. You could do a French seam there if you wanted to. You know how to do the French seam now, but just for quickness, I'm going to show you how to do just an ordinary one. And we're doing quite ordinary ones on this because I'm thinking that this might be for people who haven't, this is a much easier, I did a back stitch, that's why it's making that noise. But this is a much easier pattern to follow for somebody who is a beginner. And anyone can make it, but obviously it's just an easier one for beginners to make. Over the end, and I'm going to go back. I would hold on to the fabric whilst you're doing your back stitches if I were you. I'm just going to do it like that because I'm trying to keep my hands out either way so that you don't they don't show when I'm doing it. Okay, so we turn it to the other side, and then this time we are going to make sure we put it back to our ordinary straight stitch. So drop it down. I like my foot to be just on the fabric. And what I find is that stops it from dropping into that hole which is in there. So if you sort of think I'm going to have it just underneath, it won't go down into that hole. I'm putting it back to my ordinary stitch, and then we're just going to go down and do back stitch. Okay, and then all the way down to the end. So before I started this, I pressed my fabric, which I'd already pre-starched, and there is a video on how to cut and press your fabric, and I can put the link in. I'll try and put it in here so that you can see how to do that beforehand. take that out and cut that thread there. And then we're going to come all the way back up. We're going to cut that thread as well at the top. And then we're going to run up with our zigzag stitch. Now if you've got a serger and it's all threaded up and all ready to go, you can just go to the serger and serge this. Just a back stitch, that stops it unraveling the back stitch. You could always serge this if it's all ready to go and if you find that it's easier. Some machines do have a serger stitch on them, so you can do a serger stitch with your actual sewing machine. And then back stitch just to stop it unraveling. There you go, okay. So that's nice and neat. And then you can just trim off any loose ends there. Like that. Just go across and just trim off anything which might be just loose ends there, if you want to. Okay, right, so the next thing we are going to do is we're going to take this piece, and this is our arm, okay, and these pieces are the arms which we've prepared, and this is my right side. So I want my right side to be going inside, okay, and I'm going to be pinning, is that right? I'm going to pin all the way from here down to here, like that. Okay, but before we do that, I'm just going to stitch my two sides together. So we're taking our arm and we're going to just stitch the two side pieces right up to here. Okay, so I'm going to pop a few pins in, put one in there, those two pieces meet nicely together. And what you might find is where your lace is, because obviously it's got the ups and the downs and that sort of thing, it might not fit exact, so you might have to just move it a tiny bit over to get that to lay nice and flat there. Alright, and then here as well. And again, if you want to do a French seam, you're more than welcome to do a French seam here. Okay, so just going to come on. I'm going to put it on so it's on the edge of that one rather than on the edge of that one. Take out my pin. And I didn't do what I just said we needed to do. I didn't put my stitch back, and I started off with a zigzag stitch. Lucky I hadn't got too far. Take out that pin. Again, we're doing this on the 3/8. And we're just going to come up a tiny bit further. We'll stop when we get to that where it started to curve, okay? Keeping those two pieces together nicely. And a back stitch. Okay, so that's one. Cut your threads. And what we will do here is we'll just remove that extra piece of lace which was on the side, because we wanted it to marry up so it was roughly the same way. And then we'll go back and do our zigzag again, okay? Just get it on just underneath. Turn it to your zigzag stitch. And back. All the way down to the end. There we go, and just do a back stitch. There we are. Okay, that's that one. Remove your threads. Do the same with the other arm. So if you feel confident enough, what you can do is you don't need to pin it. So if you feel that you can do it, I'm just going to come in a tiny bit because that's not quite laying exactly straight there. Put it back on that straight edge and just come in without pinning it. Back stitch, and then go all the way up, keeping that at that 3/8 of an inch. Now it is better to pin, but sometimes, you know, it's just such a small piece and you think, well, I know that I can stitch that absolutely straight. So if you feel that you've got the confidence to do it, do it. If you're nervous about it, then don't do it. Go and do your Okay, and just do it with the way you like doing it. This is your piece of work. It's not my piece of work. This is what you're going to make and what you want to do. Just neaten that end up where we put that where the lace met up, because one piece was slightly larger than the other, and then we'll come back and we'll do our zigzag. So I'm going to start in here, do a zigzag forward a little bit, and then go backwards, and all the way along. You know, this is your work. This is what you want to do. I'm giving you the ideas, but you know, make it your own. Choose different fabrics, choose different embellishments and those sorts of things. Make it your own personal thing. Nobody else is going to have one exactly like yours. Everyone who makes it is going to be making it differently. Cut my ends. Okay, and now we're just going to come in and pin the two arms together. So we've got, this is our right side of our dress. So when our sleeve goes onto it, we're going to want it true goes that the two wrong sides are together. Okay, so to do that we need to put these the right way round. Okay, and we need to pin the two wrong sides together, so you'll have your sleeve like that. Okay, so that's your sleeve like that, and you're going to place that seam there on the inside. It's going to go in and it's going to sit against that seam on that side, and I'm pressing that one that way to the back of the front, and I'm pressing the other one the other way, so that the two middle pieces sit exactly together like that. Okay, and then we'll just come up through here and we'll pin all the way along. So you've got two nice curves and they're just going to pin them together. Quite easy. Need too many pins or anything to do that. If you feel like you want to put lots of pins in, then put lots of pins in. If you feel you want to just do it freehand, then do it freehand. It's entirely up to you. If you're finding that it's moving around for you a lot on the sewing machine and you're not getting the edges quite right, and you sort of think, oh, I've not quite got that lined up exactly as I want it, then add a few more pins and slow down your stitching. You know, that is a really good way. I would recommend, if you are going for your first sewing machine, get one which has a variable speed. So some sewing machines just go, sorry, foot's not down, just go, okay, and that's it, and it's going to go one speed. Whereas this one, if I push my foot harder, you know, give it a harder push. Let's just give this piece and show you. If I'm going to push my foot and I'm going to go really fast, or I can go push it very gently and it'll just, you know, these slow stitches like that. Okay, so that's what you're looking for. Right, let's go back to my proper stitch and on my proper stitch, and then we're going to come in and we're going to stitch around here. So pop it underneath, it's underneath the foot. Let me take that first pin out. Just getting caught up my pins. Just do a very, take your time, back stitch. Okay, I'm trying to keep my hand out of the way of the camera, that's why I'm not doing it so pushing it so there. Right, and I'm coming up to that pin, I'm going to slip my pin out. If you get the silk pins, you might find that they are much thinner than these ones. These are just ordinary cotton pins. They're glass headed so that you can machine across the top of them. If you decide you want to go with silk pins, you can machine across the top of your silk pins. So you do save a tiny bit of time by doing it that way. Okay, so now we're going to pop this in as well. And when you get to here, you sort of need to turn it a little bit. So you want that still to stay there, and you want to sort of come in and just pull it around slightly so it's still on that edge, okay? Making sure you're getting both pieces lined up. That's it. So you sort of come around with it. I'll show you again on the other side so you can get a better view. There we go, and then we'll finish with back stitch. Okay, right, I'm going to take that one out. Check that you've definitely put it in the right way round, so your arm should be in there with the all the seams not showing when you've got it the right way round. Okay,